shared my pain and it gave me a life. I put my beef with the odds to the side. Yeah, I showed them mercy. Oh yeah, yeah. Pull up in that D and they know it's us. Don't you move too quick, boy, you close enough. I'm sipping down Julio until I'm floating. Yeah, floating up. I'm with all the dogs, yeah, I'm clicked up. I cut out all the ones that was switching up. Gotta get them out. Made me sick as hell. Fuck it, do it by myself. Man, I wish you well.
Yo.
Us at the block is a light show. I'm with the mob and we don't move polite. I put 100 G's in a ledger for a sense of security. It's right, Kay. Chopping at the beat, I'm a psycho. I shared my pain and it gave me a life. I put my beef with the odds to the side. Yeah, I showed them mercy.
I got this light on my chest like I'm Iron Man. Been a beast since they let me out the lion's den. You peep the watch, it's starting to look like it's my time again. It's a few were chosen, golden boy, little baby, I am him. But shit ain't always what it seems. Swear these little niggas couldn't walk in Mama Queens. Cold world, I'm just blowing smoke into the breeze. Big dog, I'm just brushing off the fleas.
Yo.
Us at the block is a light show. I'm with the mob and we don't move polite. I put 100 G's in a ledger and it's all for security. It's right, Kay. Chopping at the beat, I'm a psycho. I shared my pain and it gave me a life. I put my beef with the odds to the side. Yeah, I showed them mercy.
Little bit of luck is what I found. Yeah. Just a little pick me up when I'm down. Yeah. When I'm down. Yeah. It's a good day for a good day. Sending big love in a big way. Yeah. It's a good day for a motherfucking good day. Yeah. Okay, a little bit of Tina, margarita. In a beach chair with my feet up, yeah. It's a good day for a motherfucking good day. Yeah. Just a little bit of liquor, that's all I need. Little bit of you time when I'm free. Just a little bit of you and I when the sun goes down tonight. Yeah. What would you do if we had it all wrong? Got what we want, but we still want more, you know. What would you do, yeah? What would you do if it all goes wrong? What would you do if we had it all wrong? Got what we want, but we still want more, you know. What would you do, yeah? What would you do if you got what you wanted? A little bit of luck is what I found. Yeah. Just a little pick me up when I'm down. Yeah. When I'm down. Just a little bit of liquor, that's all I need. Just a little bit of you time when I'm free. Just a little bit of you and I when the sun goes down tonight. Going down tonight. Cause I can't let nobody get me off of my way. Vibrate, I'ma let it vibrate. Yeah, let it vibrate. What would you do if we had it all wrong? Got what we want, but we still want more, you know. What would you do?
Hey, pipe up, Hood Rich.
Doing something different, and I had to switch it up. Turned up in my section, every night we live it up. All my haters mad, but I don't give a fuck. All my haters mad, but I don't give a fuck. Doing something different, and I had to switch it up. Turned up up in my section. Every night we live it up. All my haters mad, but I don't give a fuck. All my haters mad, but I don't give a fuck.
It's Hill. Taysom Hill picks up the Saints first down, still going. Wow.
I don't care if you let how stiff. I don't care if you let how rip. I don't care if you let how stiff. I don't care if you let how rip. I got sauce, I got flavor. Getting all this paper. I got sauce, I got flavor. Getting all this paper. Plain Jane Paddock on my motherfucking wrist. They notice every time when I walk up in this bitch. Hustle, walk up in this bitch. Keep my clock up in this bitch. Hustle, walk up in this bitch. Keep my clock up in this bitch. My chopper hit. My chopper hit.
Martinez
My funny hit.
steps up.
My funny hit. I don't care if you let how split. I don't care if you let how rip. I don't care if you let how step. I don't care if you let how rip.
Give me that old
Doing something different, and I had to switch it up. Turned up in my section. Every night we live it up.
Receivers out to the right. He's going to keep it himself. McCarthy. Great move. They're certainly playing better here in the second half. Stroud delivers deep down the field. It's caught. Fleming. And a walk-in touchdown. Look at that. He just popped free. And he's gone. One man can catch him. Only one, and that's Frankie West. Not to be.
From the 30-yard line, Singleton with running room. And then he turns on the Jets past the 50-yard line. Stays in bounds. They will not catch him. Singleton all the way.
Now you see Iowa defenders loading the box. The play fake for Wade. Reads it over the middle. It's picked up. That is Xavier Walker. There goes Walker.
Foot down, and so he just puts that right foot back down.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the greatest show on YouTube, live streaming every mother effing week. It is the 2023 Big Ten College Football Preview. I am your host, CJ Riddell, and this is the PM Mother FNP. And we are going to talk about a couple of subjects before we get started with the Big Ten preview. First of all, I would like to thank those that decided to show up and watch this pretty face talk about the Big Ten, because I got a lot to talk about on the Big Ten. Well, the first thing I want to talk about pertains to college football. Now, this subject here is important because I'm a huge college football fan, and I'm a huge NCAA football video game fan. So now the College Football Players Association is planning to boycott the EA college football game to for one reason: not enough payment. So here's my fucking thought about that before I move on to the next subject. Now, I don't understand these college football athletes. I don't understand these student athletes at all, because you're already getting NIL deals. You're already getting compensated. You're already getting your fucking name on the game. And you're still bitching about not getting compensated. Well, in all honesty, I'd worry about my gameplay in order to boost my fucking stats up on the fucking game. Worry about the compensation later. I don't disagree with the whole don't get paid enough money. It's the fact that you need to get paid afterwards. After the season, you need to see how much the game sells and honestly how much your name and image is worth. So, with that being said, with the whole NIL rule, first of all, I think it's stupid. I think it needs to be standardized. I think it needs to be structured. If you're a starter, you get paid a percentage more. Now, with that being said, I'm done with that subject. We're going to move on to this next subject. It is the Minnesota Vikings. So, pretty Big Ten country up there. Minnesota Golden Gopher country. Now, we have the Minnesota Vikings not trading, but releasing Dalvin Cook. I mean, this guy, he did so much for the Vikings run game. But the Vikings said it's time to go for Dalvin Cook. And there's two teams that are going to be interested in signing him. That's going to be the Miami Dolphins and the Denver Broncos. Two teams that actually need a running back, which I think it would benefit more for the Miami Dolphins because they actually need a fucking running back. Denver, they're just trying to add on to the running back core that they have over there. But in all honesty, Denver they do need a veteran running back. So with that being said, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna say the Dolphins are gonna end up getting this guy. I really do think that Denver will not be able to get to Dalvin Cook unless they find a good number for him, because there are negotiations. There is a process for this certain individual. Now, I don't want Zeke back at Dallas, but I would want Dalvin Cook to come along. But I know damn well we don't have the figures for that, so I ain't even going to push it. But that's all I have for my thoughts for today. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we're here for the main event. We're here for the main event here. The Big Ten Football 2023 preview. Boy, am I excited for this. J-Mo, cue it up, baby. All right, now we have the Fighting Illini, Illinois. Last year they went 8-5 with a 5-4 Big Ten record. They lost to Mississippi State in the Compass Bowl, and that was a sad game for me to watch because Mike Leach was the head coach for Mississippi State, but it looked like Illinois was gonna win that game. It was a tough, brutal game for both teams, offensively. Defensively, both teams played very well. But Mississippi State has a very good history in playing in tough contested battles in bowl games. But let's talk about Illinois. Their head coach, Brett, good grief, I can't even pronounce his name. Belima. He's heading into his third season, 13-12. He used to coach at Arkansas, which that didn't end up well. I think that Illinois could be a team that could make some noise this season. But no pun intended for the Illinois part. But anyway, so we're going to start off with the September schedule that they have. They do have 5 games in September this season. So their first game will be against Toledo. That might be a cakewalk for Illinois. They do have the athletes to do so. Then they're going to go to Utah. That's going to be an interesting battle between them and the Utes. I like this matchup. For one, it's a battle of Native Americans. Two, it's an interesting style, interesting clash of styles. Utah, Illinois. Utah is that RPO, that power play action pass, while Illinois is just a straight up run team. And I love mismatches like that. It makes good college football. And then they have 2 straight home games. On the 16th, they got to face the Penn State Nittany Lions. I think this is going to be an interesting game, but Penn State's going to be tougher this season, in my opinion. And then they'll play at home again against Florida Atlantic. So you have a 2-2 shot, a 3-1 shot, a fucking 4-0 shot for Illinois. Hell, you could go 1-3 or 0-4. But now we're gonna move to the last game of September, the 30th at Purdue. This is gonna be a tough game for the Fighting Illini as they take on the Boilermakers. I think this is gonna be a fun game to watch. And then in the first week of October, October 6th, they'll take on Nebraska, the Cornhuskers. We don't know how Matt Rule's going to do with Nebraska just yet. They picked up a new transfer with Jeff Sims. I think this is going to be an interesting matchup as well. And then 8 days later, October 14th, they'll travel to Maryland to take on Talia Tagovailoa and the Maryland Terrapins. Now, this Maryland team is going to be tough. They are going to be a team that you need to watch out for in the Big Ten. And normally I don't say that. And a lot of you fans that have seen recent history are going to rag on me for losing to Maryland. Oh, y'all lost to Maryland twice in a row. Fuck off. You know, we weren't that special. Come on now. But anyway, week later we take on the Badgers of Wisconsin. The Illinois Fighting Illini will take on Wisconsin October 21st, you know. And I think this is going to be an interesting battle. Also, with Luke Fickell coming in as the new Wisconsin head coach. And then they have a bye week, and then they go into November, where they travel to Minnesota to take on the Golden Gophers. Another tough team to face. I think Minnesota's going to be really tough this season. But they are losing a lot, so we shall see with that game with Illinois and Minnesota. And then they have another home game, the 11th, to take on Indiana. God, fucking Nets. I don't even know how they got in here. But anyway, Indiana against Illinois. This is going to be a this rivalry is very intense. Last season, I saw one of the biggest hits on God's green earth. I thought it was a fucking phenomenal hit. I think Illinois got hosed in this game. But let's be real. A win's a win, I guess. And then their last road game will be at Des Moines, taking on Iowa, which is a team that most people don't know what their offense is going to be like. Certainly knows what their defense is going to be like. So we'll see. And then the last game will be a homecoming game taking on Northwestern. So pretty intense schedule for Illinois. I like the schedule. I think it shows that they want to play against good quality teams, especially within their division. You know, even though they have a weaker division than the East with Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, Maryland, So, Damo, let's go ahead and go to my ceiling, my floor, and my prediction for next season. So, Illinois, your ceiling is 9-3 with a 6-3 record. Which some of these teams I kind of did not do the conference record because just did not have a whole lot of time, honestly, to do the conference records, which for now on, I'm just not going to do that for the ceiling and floor. I'll just do that for the predictions. But the ceiling is 9-3. The floor is 5-7, which is a fair estimate, I think. But the overall prediction, I think y'all are just gonna go back to 8-4. I really do think so. With a 5-4 record, I think that y'all are gonna have really tough games. Utah, Penn State, possibly Purdue, possibly Maryland. Nebraska might be a tough game. Iowa, defensively. Indiana. I mean, I don't have Indiana very high this season, but you never know. But we're going to move on to the next team, the Hawkeyes of Iowa. All right. So, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Last season, they went 8-5 and 5-4 in the division. Coached underneath Kirk Ferentz, who has coached for 25 fucking seasons now. How in the fuck is that possible from 1999 to now? They haven't won a national championship. They've won several Big Ten championships, but in 25 seasons, I figured Iowa would have had a fucking national championship by now. But they don't. And Kirk Ferentz, his overall record is 186-115 in his overall career. Now, let's take a look at their schedule. Oh, I forgot to talk about the recruiting transfer portal. Illinois' recruiting is 42, while their transfer portal is 65. When I'm looking at Iowa right now, their recruits at 39, but their transfer portal rank is 47. So, pretty decent numbers for Iowa, I would say. But they need a tight end U needs to turn into everything offense U because they need to fucking fix their offense. But let's go ahead and fix their schedule. But let's go ahead and go on their schedule. September 2nd, they take on the Utah State Aggies at home. And then the following week, they'll travel to Ames to take on their in-state rival, the Iowa State Hawkeyes, for the Cy-Hawk Trophy, which I already talked about this game. I think this is going to be a physical game, as it usually is, very competitive. But we'll see what happens in that game. And then September 16th, they'll be taking on Western Michigan, which Western Michigan has been horrible in the last several years. Just talking about the truth, and yeah, I just don't think Western Michigan can handle Iowa. And then September 23rd, they will be traveling to Penn State. Oh my God, that is going to be a brutal game for Iowa, I think. So hopefully these next two road games will help them out, as they'll take on the Spartans of Michigan State. And then they'll take on Purdue. And then after that, they'll travel to Wisconsin. And then after that game, they will take on Minnesota. They'll travel to Northwestern afterwards. They'll probably beat up on Rutgers. They'll have a good game against Illinois. And then they'll travel to Nebraska to end the season. Holy fuck. Guys. That might be a fucking easy easy first part of the schedule, except for Penn State. I could easily see a fucking 5-1 record. I could see a 4-2 record. Up until Wisconsin and Minnesota could be a 4-4. But let's go ahead and take a look at the ceiling, the floor, and my prediction. All right, my ceiling, my floor, my prediction. Pretty out there for Iowa, as you can see. Holy fuck. I got them at a 10-2. So losing to Penn State, and I'm going to go with a loss at Wisconsin. But my floor is a 4-8 record, which they're still going to beat Iowa State, in my opinion. In my overall prediction, I think they're going to be a mediocre 6-6. They just do not have an offense that will do any justice for their defense. Okay? So, I just don't see Iowa being that team offensively again. Like, they need to fix their fucking offense. They really do. Let's be honest, guys. Hawkeye fans, Hawkeye Nation, I hope you understand where I'm coming from. I want Iowa to be that team to be feared in the Big Ten again, but I just don't see any good quality players in Iowa. Like, no fucking offensive player surprises me. Every first round, I see a fucking defensive end or a fucking linebacker going into the draft for Iowa. The last relevant offensive player that Iowa actually had was George Kittle. I'm just going to say it. George Kittle. Last great Iowa Hawkeye to be drafted in the draft. But anyway, we're going to move on to Indiana. Now, Indiana. The recruit rank 69, but their transfer portal ranking, they're in the top 15 and on top of the fucking Big Ten in transfer rankings. That doesn't really. That just says that okay, we're getting a lot of transfers in, but we're not getting really good commits in. They went 4-8 last season with a 2-7 record. Tom Allen, a guy that I praised before, he comes in with a 30-40 record in his 7th season. He could be on the hot seat this season if they don't get anything right. I think he's already on the hot seat, to be honest. But their schedule, they have a pretty brutal season opener for a Big Ten opener. Jesus Christ. They got to play against Ohio State at home. And then 6 days later, they take on Indiana State, which, do you even consider this a fucking loss for them? I don't. And then 8 days later, they play at Lucas Oil Stadium, home of the Indianapolis Colts, taking on JMO's worst enemy, the Louisville Colts. I think I said enough about Louisville, but
I hope they smoke them.
he just said, I hope they smoke them. Jesus, definitely clipping that one.
Only time you'll hear me, ladies and gentlemen. I hope they smoke them.
Might have to bring him in for the Kentucky conversation also, so tune in for that one. But after that game, they will be taking on Akron at home, and then they have their actual first road game, not a neutral site, their first road game at Maryland, and then they travel to Michigan. They will take Rutgers a week later at home, and then they'll her to take on. Uh-oh. We good now? Yeah, it looks like I'm breaking up still. Yeah. Okay. Where was I? Oh yeah, Hershey Park. Yeah, Hershey Park, Beaver Stadium, Penn State. At Penn State. They got to go to Penn State. Okay, so oof, God, that's not a very good fucking start for Indiana. Then they got to play at home against Wisconsin. Then they got to travel to Illinois. Then they got to play Michigan State at home. And then they have to travel to Purdue, their last road game. I really don't know how well Indiana's going to do. Based off of the transfer portal, I think they could do well. But then again, it's fucking Indiana. So, J-Mo, let's go ahead and switch it to the ceiling, the floor, and my prediction real quick. All right, my ceiling, floor, and prediction. I have them at a 9-3 with a 6-3 conference record. Again, I don't have the conference record for all the teams, so everybody that is going to be complaining to me about not having conference records for their team, they could go suck an egg. But my floor for them is a 3-9 with a 2-7 record. And then my prediction, the proof is in the pudding. I said it, 3-9 and 2-7. They could do a little bit better, but I don't think they're going to be bowl eligible this season. I just don't see with that schedule. It's just too fucking brutal for them. Major road games that they need to win is fucking tough games to play at, tough stadiums to play at, and then you have a neutral site against a team that could be good in the ACC. So I don't know what to tell you, Hoosier fans. Stick to fucking basketball, like Baker Mayfield said. Oh, that's a bad example. I'm sorry, Kansas fans. Yeah. In order Indiana to be back to where they were with Michael Penix, they need to have that play style and have that type of quarterback that they had with Michael Penix Jr. But he transferred out, and y'all have a new quarterback, and that's all I gotta say about the Hoosiers. Next team we're gonna talk about, the Maryland Terrapins, with head coach Michael Oxley, who has a 21-28 record last season. He actually improved this, or 21-28 career record at Maryland. They actually improved over the last several years with an 8-5 and a 4-5 Big Ten record. 2015, he was actually an interim head coach, which he did not do well as an interim head coach for Maryland. But with time comes impatience, and the recruit ranking's 36, and the transfer portal ranking is 28. I like what Maryland has done in the last several years. Talia Tagovailoa is actually proven to be a really good quality player for Maryland. I like what they're doing for their wide receivers. I like their offensive style. It's just the defense I'm worried about. I like their secondary. It's their front seven I'm really worried about. But let's talk about Maryland, shall we? Their schedule. September 2nd, they will take on Towson. Towson's a pretty good FCS school, but Maryland should be able to handle them. Charlotte, UNC Charlotte. We talked about them in the American Conference which I think they should have went to the fucking Sun Belt because they were FCS level. I think the Sun Belt's just a step lower than the American. I think they're jumping the gun with that conference, but oh well. Virginia. They will be taking on Virginia at home, their last home game before their first road game. Former ACC opponent. I think this is going to be a good matchup in some way. But they will be taking on Michigan State at the Spartans. I think this is going to be an interesting matchup for Michigan State. But then they go back home to take on Indiana. So there's a very good chance that Maryland goes undefeated here. There's a very good chance they go undefeated here up until they go up to Columbus, Ohio to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes, which they're going to be coming in with a new crop. They just have very good wide receivers at Ohio State. I don't think Maryland has a shot at Ohio State, so that's just my opinion. And then they take on Illinois at home. They travel to Northwestern in 2 weeks. Then the November stretch. They take on Penn State at home. They travel to Nebraska. They take on Michigan at home. So that's very good right there. They take on Penn State and Michigan at home. And then they had their last road game against Rutgers. And Maryland has given Michigan trouble. Listen to me, folks. Maryland has given Michigan some sort of trouble in the last several years. So, if you don't believe me, watch the fucking box scores of the last 2 seasons between Michigan and Maryland. All right, so I think Maryland has a good shot at being a very, very surprising team this upcoming year. I think they have a very good shot at going undefeated up until they play against Ohio State. So, J-Mo, you know the deal. Ceiling, floor, and prediction. And my ceiling for this team is a 9-3 record. I think they'll lose to the big 3 in the East, Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. I think that those 3 teams are on a tier of their own. But Maryland is getting there. Their floor, though, very easily a 6-6 floor. I think they'll do better than that. I really do think so. That's why I have them at an 8-4 record. Is it possible they can go 9-3? Is it possible they go 10-2? Yeah, I think so. But at the same time, it's hard to play in the Big Ten, and there could be a shocker loss to they could lose to anybody on that schedule, realistically, as far as Big Ten. So I have them at an 8-4 and 5-4. So my next team we're going to talk about. Oh boy, I have had heated conversations with this fan base this morning. Why? Because I think y'all have some fake ass fans. But Michigan Wolverines. Woo! Let's talk about those Michigan Wolverines. You know, the team that has beaten Ohio State in the past 2 years in a row. They've been off. They haven't made it to the Big Egg yet. They haven't made it to the Big Dance. They got slapped around by Georgia. And hear me out, they lost to TCU. And they still haven't gotten over that. They still have not gotten over that. So I really don't understand why. You know, y'all are getting y'all starting running backs back. Donovan, you're getting you're still getting JJ McCarthy coming Blake Coburn's coming back. You're getting fucking firepower back, and you're still complaining about the TCU game that y'all say, oh, we could have beaten them. We just weren't focused. That is a fucking excuse for a fucking loss. Y'all got dominated in that game. Y'all need to own up to y'all shit. Like I own up to my fucking Longhorns getting fucking owned by the Washington Huskies. Okay? And just fucking deal with it. You know? So with Michigan fans comes with bandwagoners. Ever since Jim Harbaugh came into the picture, Michigan has had bandwagoners. And I got into heated arguments with guess who? Fucking bandwagoners. There's so many bandwagoners in Michigan, it's not even funny. And they want to constantly brag about beating Ohio State 2 years in a row. Okay, well, Ohio State beat y'all like fucking 50 years in a row. And I'm just being melodramatic about it, you know? Oh, everybody's trying to shut me up. Michigan fans trying to shut me up from telling the truth. What is this? My dog's licking me because he knows I am yelling at the fact that Michigan fans has fake ass fans and they won't fucking admit it, you know? So that being said, let's get back to the conversation with Michigan fans. All right. So Michigan, they went 13-1. The Big Ten record 9-0. Head coach Jim Harbaugh, he's been there for 9 years now. 74-25. All right. So, I mean, this is a pretty enticing season coming up because they got guys coming back. I like what they're bringing back. And also, I like their recruit and their transfer portal ranking. That helps out a lot for Michigan. Now, the real Michigan fans can understand what I'm saying. Sit down. So the recruit rankings 17, transfer portal rankings 20. I mean, they're in there. You know, they're in there. So that being said, let's talk about their schedule. Their first game, East Carolina. That's an easy dub. So that'll be 75th win for Jim Harbaugh right there. And then, would you stop? Hey, sit down. Go sit down over there. All right. So next game we're going to talk about is UNLV. They'll be facing UNLV at home. Go. Well, anyway, they'll play 4 home games on September, by the way. Hey, can you sit down, please? Hey. Goodness gracious. I had to bring her in there because she was pacing around. All right. But anyway, September 16th, they'll take on Bowling Green. Another easy win. And then they'll take on another easy win. Rutgers. Then they'll travel to Lincoln to take on Nebraska, which I don't know. This is a very close call here. I don't know what Nebraska is going to bring to the table this season. But we'll see. And then October 7th, they'll take on Minnesota at Minnesota. That's going to be a tough game. That will be a trap game for Michigan. And then they'll be taking on Indiana October 14th at home. And then they'll be traveling to Michigan State, where they might get bullied in the locker room again after beating them 29-7. Yeah, Michigan fans will not like what I said right there. And I like Michigan fans or Michigan State fans. I just hate the way things are going over there, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. But then they'll take on Purdue. They'll travel to Penn State, so watch out for that one. I think Penn State's going to be a lot better. They're playing at home, and they'll be good. And then they'll travel to Maryland, which I think is going to be a good team. And then the last game of the season, they'll play at home against Ohio State. So tune into that one as well. I think that's going to be a very, very good matchup. But let's roll it. The ceiling, the floor, and prediction. All right. My ceiling, obviously 12-0. They're going to be one of the top teams in the country, bringing back Blake Corum, bringing in that explosive run game. They're going to bring back J.J. McCarthy, who I think is going to be a Heisman dark horse this season. My floor, 8-4. Very, very tough teams. I think the 4 losses would be Ohio State, Penn State, Maryland, and possibly Minnesota. But my overall prediction, I actually do think they're going to go undefeated this season. I actually do think so. And my dog. You know what? And to those Michigan fans that actually respect me on Twitter, I thank you. To those Michigan fans that are fucking bandwagoning fans that are fucking trolls, there you go. You want some satisfaction? There's my overall prediction. Now stay dick riding, motherfuckers. So, Jesus Christ. First Oklahoma, now Michigan. I gave you a fucking gift, Michigan. So, here we go. Michigan State. Now, this might cut off our fucking connection again. Oh, fuck. There's so many clips on this fucking one video. Oh, fuck. Michigan State. Mel Tucker, who's been there for about 5 seasons now. Maybe 4. I forgot to write that down, apparently. But their record with Mel Tucker coming in, 18-14 overall. But their last record in 2022, 5-7 with a 3-6 Big Ten record. Now, Sparty isn't too happy, and he hasn't been very nice. He's actually been very naughty as of late. So their recruit ranking and their transfer portal ranking is actually pretty damn good. 23rd in the country in recruiting. Their transfer portal ranking, 34 in the country. 34 in the country. I can't believe that, because Peyton Thorne actually transferred to Auburn, so that's going to be a big plus for Auburn. Their wide receiver just went into the draft. I mean, there's a lot going on in Michigan State, but I don't know what Mel Tucker's doing over there, but he's bringing in some folks too. So, I actually liked Mel Tucker for the most part, but man, I don't know what has gone downhill for Sparty, because they have turned into a undisciplined organization or an undisciplined program in college football. But I'm very displeased with how Michigan State has handled themselves as of late. And their schedule is pretty fucking brutal. I mean, their first 2 games, not as brutal, but I still could see Central Michigan pulling an upset. People have seen it before with Central Michigan beating Oklahoma State at Stillwater. They could do it here with Michigan State at East Lansing. So they have four straight home games. They'll take on Central Michigan first on the first, and then they'll take on Richmond, the Spiders, on the 9th, and then they'll take on the Huskies of Washington. Now, this is a game you cannot say, oh, we're gonna beat the shit out of Washington. Washington's actually going to be a team to watch out for this season nationally. I think Washington is one of those teams with a very explosive, high-powered offense under Michael Penix Jr., who transferred out of Indiana. You know, I think Michigan State might get fucking buried in this game, actually. Then they got to play against Maryland. Could go 2-2 easily. Then they travel to Iowa and Rutgers back to back, but 2 weeks separate, which that could be beneficial. Then they play against their rivals, which they beat the fuck out of them in their locker room, in Michigan's locker room. But they got their asses kicked on the field. That's what matters. It's not a fucking actual fucking Coliseum in fucking Michigan. Ann Arbor, man, y'all need to build different tunnels. But anyway, they got to play against Michigan at home against the Wolverines, and then they travel to Minnesota, which is going to be a fucking bloodbath, I think. Then they play against Nebraska at home, and then they travel back-to-back against Ohio State and Indiana, and then their last game of the season. I don't consider this a home game. Actually, I don't consider this a neutral site game. It's more of a home game because they're playing in Detroit at Ford Field to take on Penn State. And Michigan State, I don't think you're going to be very happy with what I got. Not even on the ceiling. Not even on the ceiling. J-Mo, go ahead and roll it, man, because I think they're going to be pissed off, and they might shut our live stream down like Oklahoma and Michigan tried to do. Well, Oklahoma succeeded and Michigan choked like always, so.
Damn, that's all I gotta say. Damn. You didn't have to do him like that. Damn.
But I did. All you gotta show is Hypnotoad, and they fucking choke.
Oh my god.
But anyway, Michigan State ceiling, floor, overall prediction. My ceiling 7-5. My floor 2-10. My over prediction. I'm sorry, Sparty. I love these fans. I think. I told you. Jesus Christ. What is happening? Jesus Christ.
They got pissed off. They tried to shut us down again.
God, the SEC fans are right. Holy shit. I haven't even reached Ohio State. I haven't even reached Nebraska yet. Holy shit. Like, Jesus Christ, people.
Thing is, they're targeting me, the Kentucky fan. I feel like that's a weird flex.
Well, I think it's because you're a SEC fan there, JMO. And,
True.
I am a Texas fan, and they fucking hate Texas, just like everybody else. You know, everybody wants to follow the trend. But anyway, we're back on, right? We're back on.
Yeah,
Okay,
we're back on.
Thank God.
Those bandwagoners, man, they try to shut us down all day.
But yet again, they fucking choked. So,
Michigan State's all about choking. I mean, look at their record.
Jesus Christ. That mascot or that throwback says.
I was about to say he does not look happy. He looks pissed, but it's all show.
Sparty does not fucking approve of this. This is a fucking horrible show to do this. But okay, my floor 7-5 ceiling, floor 2-10, overall prediction 4-8 with a 2-7 conference record. Again, real Michigan State fans can understand why I put them at 4-8. I actually think Mel Tucker's going to get fired in the middle of the season. Now, if my live gets shut down again when I'm talking about Michigan State, it's because of Mel Tucker. I genuinely think that Mel Tucker will be fired by the time they get to week 6. I hate mid-season fires. I really do, because it just ruins the fucking playbook. It ruins everything about the team chemistry. It really questions the fucking program as a whole. But I think they're done. They're done with Mel Tucker if he doesn't win at least 4 games in the first 8 games of the season. So I really don't know here. I don't know. Michigan State could prove me wrong. Who knows? With the transfers and the fucking recruits they get, they could possibly prove me wrong. Sparty fans, no disrespect whatsoever. I love Sparties. I love Michigan State fans. I just have a certain opinion about Michigan State. But we're going to move on to a team that I think has a legitimate shot at a Big Ten Conference Championship, but they could fall back a little bit. I'm talking about the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Last season, with PJ Fleck, he has a 44-27 overall record with the Golden Gophers. He's coming in his 7th season with the Golden Gophers. They went 9-4 with a 5-4 Big Ten record. Minnesota, in recent memory, has had a tremendous team. They just had sorry-ass quarterback play. But from what I'm looking at, the recruit ranking and the transfer portal ranking, it's average, okay? Let's just be honest. It's average. Recruit ranking 44. Transfer portal ranking 39. I just don't see them doing a whole lot with that. I think they'll still kind of be the same. Might be a little different this season. I think they're going to take a little step back, but not too much. In conference play, I don't think they'll take a big step back. Possibly in non-conference. But let's take a look here. They'll take on Nebraska August 31st in a Big Ten showdown at home. And then they'll take on Eastern Michigan September 9th. And then they'll have two straight road games against North Carolina and Northwestern. That North Carolina game is going to be tough. The Tar Heels, they are a tricky team to watch out for. And Mac Brown over there is doing a good job of that. And Drake May, I like that kid. I like the way he exposes the defense a little bit. So I think Minnesota will have a little bit of trouble with that guy. Northwestern, that could be a slap in the face. Or that could be a slap around fucking slap fest. And then the last game of September, they take on Louisiana Lafayette, or what they claim to be as Louisiana in Lafayette. They'll be playing at home against the Raging Cajuns. And then they have a big matchup between Michigan and themselves at Minnesota. So that's going to be a very, very, very tough game for both Minnesota and Michigan. And then they'll travel to Iowa to take on the Hawkeyes. Then they'll play at home against Michigan State. Then they will take on Illinois at home. And then they'll have 2 straight away games taking on the Boilermakers of Purdue. And then they'll take on Ohio State at Columbus. So that's going to be a definite, we might have to pack our lunch for that battle, And then they'll finish the season against Wisconsin. This is a very tricky schedule. You don't know what it's going to be like. We don't know that some of these teams are going to be good or bad or in between. We don't know how Minnesota's going to do this season, but J-Mo, you know the drill. Ceiling or prediction. Let's get it. All right, my ceiling is a 10-2 record for Minnesota. I think they have a good shot at being 10-2, possibly losing to Ohio State and Michigan. My floor, Jesus, criminy, 4-8. I think they'll go 4-8 in my floor due to the fact that they got to play against North Carolina. They got to play against Iowa at Iowa. Purdue's a tough team to play against. And then my overall prediction, 7-5. 7-5 with a 6-3 conference record. I think they're going to have a tough game against Louisiana, and I think they're going to have a tough game against North Carolina. But I think they're only going to lose to Michigan, Ohio State, and possibly Purdue or Wisconsin. But let's talk about the next team, JMO, before my live gets cut again, because fans don't like what I have to say. And I have some words about that afterwards. Boy, do we have something for the Big Ten Conference. We gotta have a talk. But next team we're gonna talk about is a team with a new head coach. One of the teams with a new head coach anyway. And this guy, God damn it, your fucking Paul. Anyway, this guy, he coached at Baylor, he coached at Temple, he even coached at Carolina to coach the Panthers. He didn't do so high at Carolina, but he is a guy that likes to turn programs around in college. Temple, he turned that program around. Baylor, he turned that program around when Art Briles resigned after sexual harassment cases. That is very important to talk about too, because that's a piece of Baylor history. And Matt Rule really turned that program into a very good program. And now he is settled in to Lincoln, Nebraska. Former powerhouses back in the day when they were in the Big Eight. Had one of the best offenses ever in college football history. I'm talking about the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Last season, they went 4-8 with a 3-6 Big Ten record. Lost to Northwestern. The only win that Northwestern ever had last season was, of course, Nebraska. Nebraska's going through hard times. If anybody knows wrestling, they know about the Dusty Rhodes hard times. Nebraska's going through some hard times. It's been a long time since Nebraska has been relevant. And I used to love to watch Nebraska play when I was younger because they had such great talent. But man, once they stepped into the Big Ten and they got a taste of what Big Ten football was like, they kind of just like, I'm just going to hide a little bit, But with Matt Rule coming into a program like Nebraska, if he can fucking turn around Baylor after a fucking scandal that happened, he can turn Nebraska around. There's no question about that. It may take some work, but he can make it happen. I mean, look at these recruit and transfer portal rankings. The recruit ranking, 24. Transfer portal ranking, 26. In the first season that Matt Rule hasn't had a real offseason yet, guys. Matt Rule hasn't had a real offseason yet. So think about it. Once he goes through this season, pretty much this season is what it's like for I'm trying to think of a team right now. Like this one team that this one town that I live in, Rockport, Texas. They have a first year head man. What it is, it's like a transitional year that you are going through your off season. You're basically just sightseeing. You're basically just being a bystander. You're coaching, but you're bystanding at the same time. So you're coaching what you get first before you even get the recruit and the transfer portal, you know. And then once that season's over with, then you start recruiting heavy, and that's what Matt Rule can do for Nebraska. And I am excited for Nebraska's future, even with UCLA and USC coming in. So we'll see what happens. But here's the schedule for Nebraska. They have 2 road games. They will be taking on Minnesota at Minnesota first. And then they'll travel September 9th to take on Deion Sanders and the Colorado Buffaloes. Now, Colorado is a very hyped team right now because, well, I just said it, Deion Sanders. And also they got one of the best fucking athletes I've seen in quite some time, Travis Hunter, who could play both ways. But that'll be an interesting matchup as well. And then they'll have 3 straight home games where they'll take on Northern Illinois, Louisiana Tech, and Michigan. And then they'll have a road game at Illinois. Then they'll have a bye week. Then they have 2 straight home games taking on Northwestern and Purdue. And then they have a pattern here of away, home, away, home. They'll be going to East Lansing to take on Michigan State. Then they'll play at home at Lincoln to take on Maryland. Then they'll travel to Madison, Wisconsin to take on the Badgers. And they'll finish their season at home against the Iowa Hawkeyes. Now, this could go either way. I fucking had to guess the fucking prediction on this one. So I could be fucking horribly right or horribly wrong about this. There's no ifs, ands, or buts or in between in this. They're either going to be good or they're going to be fucking horrible. J-Mo, roll the clip. So, my ceiling, 9-3. My floor, 3-9. In my prediction, they're going to stay. They're going to fucking stay 4-8 with a 3-6 record. I literally had to guess because they do have Jeff Sims coming back, or they have Jeff Sims coming into Nebraska. Excuse me. They do have a lot of transfers coming in, but I just don't know yet because I don't have a whole lot of confidence in Nebraska. And why? They've been horrible in the last 5 years, basically. Or really since the last decade, since they last went to the fucking Big Ten championship. You know, where they got smacked around by Wisconsin. You know, I really do hope that Nebraska gets back to where they were. A fucking conference title contender, possibly playoff contender at some point. You know, but at the end of the day, Nebraska has turned into something that they fucking hate. And that's fucking Kansas. They have essentially turned into fucking Kansas. And Cornhusker fans know it. And they know it to be true that they have turned into fucking Kansas in the Big Ten, which is sad to say. I have a lot of respect for the Cornhuskers. A lot of rich history behind the Cornhuskers, especially playing against Miami in a national championship game or any game in the 90s. I used to love watching old film on Nebraska, you know. But we're going to move on. I really wish I could just skip over this team, but we got to fucking talk about them. Probably going to be a short take. I'll be honest. And that's going to be Northwestern Wildcats. Jesus Christ. They have a guy that has been there for 18 fucking years. 110 and 101. That tells you right there, they love mediocrity. If mediocrity could slap you in the face, they wouldn't fucking tell the difference. You know, their recruit ranking, though, is 47, so that's pretty good. But their transfer portal ranking, god-awful, 73. Last season, they went 1-11 with a conference record of 1-8. And the one team that they beat was early on in the season in Ireland against Nebraska. I actually watched that game, and I thought Nebraska was going to have this record, but it was the other way around. What more do I have to say about Northwestern? I really... They have some of the coolest uniforms. I will give them that. They look flashy when they lose. Let's be honest with you, you know. And in the cool Wildcat, I do like the Wildcat logo over the end. You know, Northwestern has some pretty good style when they lose. I like the purple and black when they lose, and it's not discouraging the kids. It's more of what the fuck, man. You know. But we're going to talk about their schedule real quick. I'm just going to run through the schedule because I want to get this over with so I can talk about a real contender. Rutgers at New Jersey, and then they got to take on UTEP at home. And then they'll travel to North Carolina to take on Duke. Duke's actually going to be pretty good, so they're going to get smacked around. Then they have 3 straight home games. They should win October 7th, but they're not going to win against Minnesota and Penn State, but they should win against Howard because Howard is a terrible fucking football team. And then they'll have a bye week, and maybe Nebraska can get some redemption off of this fucking team. At Lincoln. Maybe it was because they had Idaho potatoes or Irish potatoes, you know, when they were playing Northwestern. I don't fucking know. I just don't know. I don't know how Northwestern won a game. They were fucking horrible. And then they take on Maryland at home. They take on Iowa at home. They travel to Madison, Wisconsin. They go to play Purdue at home for the last game of the season. Then they travel to Illinois. I mean, you know what to do, Jammer. I really don't want to talk more about this team. I really do think they need to fucking hire a new coach. I just can't with this team. Like, 1 year they're good, 1 year they're bad, 1 year they're horrible, 1 year they're great, 1 year they're in the Big Ten championship competing against Ohio State. You know, it's like, if we get some fucking normality with this team, if you're gonna fucking suck, just own up to it. If you're gonna be good, do something about it. You know, like, instead of just being a fucking shitty team, just play good. Which is why I have the ceiling at 4-8, a floor at 2-12, in my overall prediction 2-10. I think they're gonna fire Pat Fitzgerald. I mean, they've been saying it for the last several years, but then he starts.
What gives you that idea?
18 seasons of just pure mediocrity. I don't know. You know what? They're not gonna fire him. They're really not. They're not. They're not gonna fire him. So we're gonna move on to a fucking actual contender in the Big Ten and national championship. This team, to me, they're gonna be fresh, but they're still gonna be fucking good. And that's the Ohio State Buckeyes, like Gus Johnson said. The trademarked for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Ryan Day. A lot of people give this guy shit, but here's the thing. The motherfucker can coach. It's just he did not have a very successful win-loss record against Michigan. He did not have a successful time in the national or in the college football playoff. I think he's got the right formula. He truly does. It's just, man, Jim Harbaugh figured him out. And one thing that struck me about the difference between Ryan Day and Urban Meyer had somebody focus on Michigan all season long. And then he had another guy focus on Penn State all season long. And another guy focusing on Michigan State. All right, Ryan Day. He has a 45-6 record. And Ohio State fans are fucking complaining about this guy not being a good fucking coach. He's only lost to Michigan. He's only lost to playoff contenders. So shut the fuck up and relax. Because this fucking team right now, they're going to be young. And Ryan Day is going to figure out how to beat Jim Harbaugh and the Michigan Wolverines. I think that was on Michigan or Ohio State fans right there trying to cut me out because they want Ryan Day fired. They're too fucking. No, it's Ohio State fans this time. Fucking Jesus Christ. I'm trying to give your fucking team hype. But anyway, they went 11-2 last season. Went into the college football. Oh, here we go again. Fucking. Okay, just making sure. All right. So they went 11-2 last season. Actually made it to the playoffs. They almost beat Georgia. This fucking close to facing TCU in the national championship game. I think Ohio State would have been the team to beat Georgia. In my honest opinion. The way they played, the way CJ Stroud played in that game, Jesus Louis. They went 8-1, obviously, in the Big Ten, and that was Michigan. How'd they get into the playoffs? USC choked against Utah, which that's going to be laughed about in the Big Ten once USC and UCLA get in. I can't wait to talk about that. But let's take a look at their schedule real quick. First, they have to travel to Indiana, which that could be a tough crowd, but I think Ohio State can manage. Then they have two easy games, Youngstown State and Western Kentucky. And then they have to travel to South Bend, Indiana to take on the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Now, this is a game that people need to watch out for. And they need to make sure that which team is going to be the best team in the country as far as, or not the best team in the country, but the best team in that region, because Notre Dame's still independent. I wish they would just go into the fucking Big Ten, but they can't because of academics. And I think religious views, I guess. I don't know. And they associate more with the ACC for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, so I think that's going to be a good game. And then they have a bye week, and then they'll take on Maryland at home, which I think that's going to be a cakewalk, if I'm being honest. Then they'll travel to Purdue. Now, they've had trouble with Purdue in the last several years. Then they play Penn State at Columbus. So Penn State and Ohio State have butted heads so many fucking times in the last several years. Ohio State has had the edge, but then they'll take on Wisconsin at Wisconsin, so that's going to be a good game, I think. Then they'll travel to New Jersey to take on the Rutgers Knights, or Scarlet Knights. And then they'll take on Michigan State at home. Then they'll have their last game at home against Minnesota. And then they'll travel to Ann Arbor to take on Michigan. So, with that being said, I think this could go either way. Or just good. Ceiling, floor. Yeah. All right, we're good. Ohio State fans really, or Michigan fans, or Penn State fans may not like. I actually like Penn State fans, so I'm not going to blame them for that. So here's my ceiling, my floor, and my prediction for the Ohio State. So Ohio State, I have them at a 12-0 ceiling. As you know, these teams that are in the Big Ten, they are very, very good. The tri-area teams, you know, I think I like to call them that, the tri-area teams. Ohio State 12-0 ceiling, floor 8-4. Same thing as Michigan. Only difference is they will lose 2 games. That'll be Michigan and at Notre Dame. 2 road games, 2 hostile road games, and that one fucking tunnel that Michigan has. That being said, I think Ohio State has a very good team. They have a very young team. They'll have a young quarterback. I think he's going to be a remarkable quarterback coming in. But with C.J. Stroud being on into the NFL, I wish he would have stayed another year so that Ohio State would have been a better match for Michigan. But they do have a really good defense, so that Notre Dame and Ohio State has me hyped up for sure. So, moving on to Penn State. Let's go ahead and talk about the Nittany Lions, where James Franklin turned this program around into a national prominent team again. The only difference is they haven't been to the college football playoff. They've been to New Year's Six Bowls, but they have not been to the big fucking dance yet. Penn State. James Franklin, his 78-36 career record over at Penn State has been remarkable. There's been some tough losses. There's been some really program-changing wins. They've had really good teams, really good quarterbacks. They've had some really bad quarterback play, though. Sean Clifford being gone, Drew Aller's starting. I think Penn State is going to have a really good chance of going undefeated. The only 2 teams I see in the way right now is Ohio State and Michigan, and possibly Maryland. So, let's go ahead and talk about their for Ohio State, their recruit rankings 5. For Penn State, it's 13. Ohio State's transfer portal 37. Penn State's 54. So let's go ahead and talk about their schedule. Their first game, they will take on their former rivals, West Virginia. I think that'll be a cakewalk for them. Then they'll take on the Blue Hens from Delaware. Another cakewalk. Then they'll travel to Illinois, which I think this could be a trap game, but I think Penn State could win this game very easily. Then they'll take on Iowa at home. Tough one to call. Can be considered a bye week, September 30th, but we'll see. And then they'll have a bye week to take on UMass, another bye week. Then they have a big game to take on Ohio State at Columbus at the Horseshoe. So this is going to be a very tough matchup for Penn State. I don't know how well this offense is going to do against Columbus. I don't know how well this Ohio State offense is going to do against that Penn State defense. I think it's going to be a dogfight. And then they'll take on Indiana at home. And then in the November stretch, they'll have one road game against Maryland, 2 straight home games against Michigan, and then they'll finish off their last home game against Rutgers. Then they'll travel to East Lansing to finish off the schedule against Michigan State. Now, this could be a very good season for Penn State, but they have Ohio State on the road. They have Maryland on the road, Illinois on the road. So this could be tough. And they got Michigan coming into their house. So, Demo, let's move on to the ceiling, floor, and prediction, buddy. All right. So, the ceiling, floor, and prediction for Penn State. I actually think that Penn State's a very good football team, but it's tough to play against Michigan and Ohio State when they're both at an elite level. Their ceiling is 12-0. Their floor is 9-3. I think the only 3 games they'll lose, in my guess, would be Michigan, Ohio State, and Maryland. Maryland's going to be tough this season. But my overall prediction is 10-2. The only 2 teams, Ohio State, Penn State. Ohio State being 8-1 and Penn State being 7-2. So basically the same record. I think Penn State can manage to beat Ohio State, but they're playing at the fucking Horseshoe, so it's gonna be tough. I have a whole lot of respect for Penn State, despite the allegations and all that. Or damn near 2 decades ago, you know, with Joe Paterno and all that. So, yeah, just the way they turned their fucking program around made me respect them even more for that. So, yeah. Now we're down to 3 teams in the Big Ten. We have this next team, the Purdue Boilermakers. This team, right now, they have lost Aiden O'Connell, which is going to hinder them a little bit, I think. But at the same time, it may not. They have Hudson Card, who was a Texas Longhorn, now transferred into Purdue. I think Hudson Card has really grown as a quarterback in the last several years. He's learned a lot through his experience with Sam Ehlinger, with Quinn Ewers, with Casey Thompson when they were there, and Quinn Ewers is still there. So Purdue is going to be a team to watch out for again. Possible Big Ten West champions, possibly. Who knows? But their recruit ranking is horrible 67th in recruiting. But their transfer portal is 31. They actually have a new head man, actually. His name is Ryan Walters. Probably the youngest guy. Ryan Walters is 37 years old as a head coach for Purdue. So this is going to be a young coach coaching a young team. So get ready, folks, because you could see a growing pain, for Purdue. So you just don't know what to expect from this team. So with this schedule, it looks menacing, but it's really just a couple of teams I see could be really menacing on their schedule. They'll start off with Fresno State, then they'll have a road game against Virginia Tech, 3 straight home games against Syracuse, Wisconsin, and Illinois. And then they will take on Iowa at Des Moines, and then they'll have a home game against Ohio State, then they'll have a bye week. Then they'll take on Nebraska in Lincoln, Nebraska. And then we'll have another road game to take on Michigan at the Big House in Ann Arbor. And they'll play at home against Minnesota. They'll travel to take on Northwestern, which I think is another bye week. Let's be real. And then the last game of the season, their senior night, their senior night, whatever the fuck you want to call it, the Boilermaker graduation, whatever. They'll take on the rivals, Indiana. So I think this could be a good team, but we'll see in my prediction. And now, my prediction, my ceiling, my floor. My ceiling is going to be a 10-2 ceiling. So they could be actually better than what they were last season, which they got blown out. They got blown out by LSU last season, 63-7 in a fucking bowl game that doesn't even matter, but they got fucking demolished. My floor, 4-8. You got a really young head coach dealing with a lot of young prospects. And plus, Hudson Card has been known to choke at times. I hate to say that about him. I really do. I actually like him, but he's been known to get nervous in the pocket. Even though he's a dual threat quarterback, he's a very fast kid. But, yeah, I just think that Purdue might have a down season. But my overall prediction is 8-4. I think it's a fair prediction for these guys. 8-4, 5-4 for conference record. I think the Boilermakers might have a shot at being bowl eligible this season again. So, and also Scott Satterfield left for. No. I'm thinking of the wrong guy. I'm sorry. But anyway, let's move on. Rutgers. I have a very poor memory for those that watch, so I forget a lot of things that I say or do. But, yeah, let's go ahead and move on to Rutgers. Rutgers Scarlet Knights. They have a guy that was in the Big East with them, turned that program around, actually gave them national prominence with Ray Rice as their running back, and then he left and then came back. He now is in his 17th season with the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. They are 80-89 with this guy, but he can potentially get this team on the right path again if they can, But 2022 wasn't a good year for them. 4-8 with an 8-1 record. But they're a very, very tough team to beat. They play hard. I like this team. They have a potential to do something this season. But let's go ahead and talk about their recruit and transfer portal rankings. The recruiting ranking is 57th. Their transfer portal ranking is 60th. Their ceiling is 84. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I skipped ahead a little bit, and I said the wrong number anyway, so whatever. No, the schedule. So let's talk about their schedule. Jeez. Their schedule. They'll be taking on Northwestern first, which, honestly, I think this could be a interesting matchup here. Then they take on Temple at home. Same thing with Virginia Tech. They'll take on Virginia Tech in New Jersey. And then their first road game is, guess who? Them big bad Wolverines. Man, that's going to be a tough game for them. And then they'll take on Wagner at home, which that should be an easy win. Let's be real. And then they'll be on the road to take on Wisconsin. And then they'll be at home against Michigan State. They'll travel back to Indiana to take on the Hoosiers. They'll have a bye week. They'll play at home against Ohio State. Then they have 2 straight road games against Iowa and Penn State. So that's going to be a tough road stretch. And then their final game will be against Maryland at home in New Jersey. They have a potential to be pretty decent this season or very bad this season. So let's go ahead and where I tried to skip ahead, going to the ceiling, the floor, and prediction. All right, so their ceiling 8-4. Their floor 3-9. Where do I have their prediction? 6-6 and 3-6 in the conference record. I mean, we don't know what to expect from Rutgers this season. In all honesty, they could be really disappointing this season. But I have them being bowl eligible this season. They have a good chance of being bowl eligible this season. There's a lot of different hires, a lot of first-year coaches. Rutgers could potentially be a team that people are like, oh, shit, Rutgers is actually doing pretty well this season. So we'll see what happens with Rutgers. I hope for the best for Rutgers, you know. And the last team is the team that was really disappointing last several years. They actually have a new head man who coached Cincinnati. And that's Luke Fickell in the Wisconsin Badgers. Yeah. Fuck. I must be tired from doing this. But anyway, Wisconsin. 2022 record 7-6. Their Big Ten record 4-5. You know, they really have been disappointing in the last several years. Luke Fickell is looking to turn that around. I was very surprised by this hire. I thought he was going to go with Cincinnati into the Big 12, but he said, fuck you, I'm going to the Big 10. And wow, I'm very impressed. Their recruit ranking's 58, but their transfer portal after Luke Fickell went in, 24th in the country. So, who's in front of them? They have Michigan in front of them. They have Indiana in front of them in the transfer portal rankings. So, Wisconsin started in transfer portal rankings, guys. So that's a good thing, I think, for Wisconsin. So with that being said, let's talk about their schedule. First game, they'll take on Buffalo. Then they'll travel to Washington State to take on the Cougs the season. Then Rutgers at home. They'll play Iowa at home. And then they'll travel to Illinois, which could be a testy matchup. Then they'll play at home against Ohio State, which, again, Ohio State's a young team, and Wisconsin has a very good defense, so watch out for that game. Then they'll travel to Indiana. Then they'll play at home against Northwestern, have their last home game against Nebraska. Battle of red and white. Jeez Louise. And then they'll play their last game of the season at Minnesota. So some pretty interesting matchups, some pretty interesting road games. Damo, I think we know what to do here. Ceiling, floor, prediction. Good start. Now, my ceiling, my floor, and my prediction. My ceiling is a 11-1 record. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people with Luke Fickell's style of offense. I think it's a good change for Wisconsin. They've had historic running backs in the past, and he's going to use that RPO offense to use the running backs more and also implement the passing game for Wisconsin. Now, my floor, since it's his first season with the Badgers, 7-5. But my overall prediction, 9-3. They're going to lose to Ohio State, Minnesota, and Purdue. I really do think Wisconsin's going to be a team to watch out for, and they could be a Big Ten championship contender. So that concludes the Big Ten preview of 2023. Guys, I am excited for the Big Ten. And what I want to say about the Big Ten right now, I have never met such sensitive fans in my entire life up until I met up with Big Ten teams or Big Ten fans, the fan bases from the Big Ten. Thank Michigan and a little bit of Ohio State fans for that. I kind of gave them the benefit of the doubt after having conversations with Alabama fans, having conversations with Georgia fans, having conversations with SEC fans, like my boy JMO here.
What up?
But they're right. They're right. The Big Ten has a lot of sensitive fans. And I have never had a live stream that has been interrupted so many times in my entire life until this fucking live stream. How many times have we been interrupted?
I think it was like 4 times. I'm pretty sure.
4 fucking times.
8 times that I kind of saved.
Yeah. I mean, without the work of JMO battling the trolls of the Big Ten and Oklahoma, I would be pissed off the entire time and not figure out how to get back on live stream. I probably would have just quit.
Oh my gosh.
But with that being said, I fairly enjoyed looking into the Big Ten. There's gonna be a lot of fans that disagree with me with a lot of things I had to say about the Big Ten teams. There's gonna be some fans, probably a small portion of Big Ten fans that aren't delusional, that will say, well, TJ's right. Michigan, they were a yard short whenever they claimed his butt was in the end zone, which his knee was down before his butt, so he was a yard short. So get over it, fucking Michigan fans. I had that argument today over the TCU. They still argue about that shit. That's unbelievable. And not to change subjects and not to change anything, I want to talk to y'all about something that surprised me this morning. I woke up on Facebook and Twitter. Matt Riff. He is or Matt Rife or whatever the fuck his name is. He's a comedian. He's pretty hilarious to me. I don't think he's the funniest guy, but I think he's pretty hilarious. He was on Wild 'N Out, of course, and then he became a fucking hit sensation in comedy clubs. He came out with his tour, his comedy tour, and it's unbelievable. You got two different sides here. You got the side that says, "Oh, we gotta get tickets. We gotta go get tickets," and then you got the other side that goes, "Fuck that guy. If you like that guy, you're a real piece of shit." So it is fucking nuts, JMO, and I just don't understand. I don't understand how people can just have two different sides to things. It's like, it's like politics. It's so stupid to me, and I don't usually talk about these conversations on the podcast, but this was fucking interesting to me today. There was posts saying if she wants to buy Matt Riff tickets, the fucking red flag emojis, like all in unison. And then there was one that was showing his Wild 'N Out, making fun of his teeth before he had his teeth replaced fixed or whatever.
Yeah.
I ain't got the most perfect teeth, but I like to think I do. I got canines.
Hey, they're pretty white, man. They're pretty white.
But Matt Riff, I mean, he's just trying to do what a lot of us are trying to do. He's just trying to grind, and yeah, you're gonna get a lot of haters, and that's part of life. That is a part of life. You know what I say to dick riding haters? Fuck them, whatever, And there's also one that I did go off script and forgot to tell JMO. There is a guy that I like to watch a lot, and he talks a lot about football. Coach JB, Netflix head coach for Independence Community College, had a fucking very interesting way of getting out of Independence Community College. I'm not gonna say whose side I'm taking. I don't know, but I'm not going to say the whole story either. I'd much rather have him on to tell the story his way, And I actually like listening to the guy because he's a real motherfucker. Like I like to think I'm a real motherfucker. Like I like to tell my fucking shit,
Yeah.
Well, there's a sensation going around with youth football. A lot of people know this kid. Baby Gronk, okay? He's getting a lot of visits from big schools like TCU, Texas, Alabama, Clemson, Tennessee, Kentucky. Yeah,
Ooh.
He went to Kentucky. So, Baby Gronk. We might talk about this more tomorrow, JMO, whenever we talk about the Conference USA. Because we also have another thing to talk about, too. Yep. But Coach JB doesn't get the hype for Baby Gronk. I understand it. He's just a fucking 11-year-old or however old he is. He's not playing junior high. He's not playing high school football yet. So what's the big fucking deal about this kid? How is he getting more attraction than 5-star recruits, And I'm not going to rant on it because he's a youngster. I don't put down youngsters. I don't put down high school football players. I don't actually put down college players unless they're real big pieces of shit, like Spencer Rattler. But at the end of the day, Coach JB is giving a critique. He's giving his own thoughts on this kid. And, I thought he was going to get backlash. I really thought so. Like, he's a kid. You shouldn't be harping on a kid. And, he would have fucking told them motherfuckers. You don't have to tell me shit, motherfucker. I do what I do for a reason. He's from fucking Compton, okay? So he's going to tell it how it is.
Yeah.
Which I respect that. He may be wrong at times that I disagree with, respectfully, but he tells it how it is in his own beautiful way.
Yeah.
But,
That's all that matters.
but here's the thing. Why are we as a society giving a youth football player so much hype? Not just him. There's a Baby Diggs out there. Okay? Yeah. And I'm sorry, but I was very, very bad. I was better than them in fucking youth football. And never once I went to a fucking official visit, you know? And, you know, I went to Camp LT. I will show that picture. I will take a picture of it and I'll send it to JMO so he can post it one day on the PMP, and I'll talk more about that later.
We'll do it next podcast. You better live up to it.
Yeah. I actually admire LaDainian Tomlinson too. And I'll have it when I'll have it with Caleb because he loves LaDainian Tomlinson too.
Yep.
Actually, he loves LaDainian probably more than me. Because we grew up watching him, you know. Yeah. And I actually knew of LaDainian Tomlinson when he went to TCU, and I was very young looking into college football more. That's how I fell in love with football, was college football. But yeah, youth football kids should not be going on official visits and all that, in my opinion, because you're really just filling up their head with, you could so be the number one recruit. This is that, but when they get to the fucking junior high level, it's a whole different game.
Oh yeah.
And once they get to the high school level, that's a whole different game. You know, there's more than just fucking D1. There's D2, D3, community college, and Coach JB may have fucking been hypocritical way too much, but he said that motherfucker looks like the next Aaron Hernandez. I was like, damn. He said that.
That's some hype right there.
But hyper fucking travesty. I don't know. But
only time will tell. Really?
Only time will tell, though. You're absolutely right.
It's too early to tell. He can't make projections like that. He's too young. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's putting way too much pressure on a kid, if I can say.
Yeah, like that kid should be focusing on school. I am the last person to talk about once it comes to school, because I used to not focus very well as well. When I was younger, I was way more focused, but once I got to junior high and high school, I didn't really give a shit, but only just enough to A's and B's, which I wish I would have a 4.0, 3.5 GPA. I think I had less than a 3.0 GPA, to be honest. But yeah, like, these kids should not fucking worry about official visits to fucking schools like Texas or fucking Kentucky or none of that.
Way too young for that. Just because of a name, way too young for that, man. Way too young.
Yeah. I want to see what that kid could do on the field first when he gets into the high school level before I'd much rather do it junior high. Junior high, to me, is probably the best way to start out your your official. I actually did a Lamar Jack, you know, and this, yep, I fucking figured. Oh, we're good?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's my official thoughts on the whole baby Gronk and baby Diggs and whatever the fuck it is, you know. And people are gonna harp on Coach JB for fucking saying that, but he's telling the fucking truth the way it needs to be told.
Yeah.
Like, quit hyping these young kids up to be the next fucking superstar when they haven't even put on fucking pads yet or put on fucking and yeah, Coach JB called the dad out. He called the dad out, and rightfully so. Like, why are you pushing your kid to go on official visits when he hasn't even done anything besides play flag football?
Yeah.
And and I don't want to crush any kid's dream, but realistically, in high school, there's like a small percentage of those cats that you play with in high school that will not go to college football, that will not go to college basketball or college track. You would be surprised the statistics behind college track. It's fucking low, man, for high school students, and it's not the student's fault. It's just not enough notoriety. And that's what I love about living down here. And like, I tell you what, JMO, like South Texas, over by the Corpus Christi area.
Yeah.
We get overlooked by Dallas, Houston, Waco, really just about anywhere except for the Rio Grande Valley. We get overlooked by a lot of fucking people.
Yeah.
And I got to give a shout out to Matt and David McHugh. I went to their fucking Twins passing camp, Twins passing academy camp recently. And it's where their high school coaches gather all the kids from the surrounding area. They started this thing 3 years ago, and I want to interview them at some point. Probably not on the P&P, but on my other podcast, the Gridiron 64, about this. But they have really changed the game for South Texas. Like, there's kids being looked at by University of Houston now. There's kids going to TCU camps. There's kids that are just going everywhere, and it's awesome to see that. And I go to these fucking 7-on-7 deals. I have commentated a game for the local area around here. I have interviewed a couple of local coaches, like head coaches around here. For the other podcast I do, Gridiron 64. And it's so awesome to see how much the Coastal Band down here has really grown in the last 3 years. As far as recruiting cycle, as far as anything. You would just, like, 2 years ago, you'd be happy that one kid got a fucking D1 scholarship to go play at fucking USC.
Yeah.
That was an offensive lineman from a school called Cal Allen in Corpus Christi. Now there's kids being looked at by Houston, being looked at by SAGU, which is Southern Assemblies of God University, McMurray, so on and so forth. And a lot of it has to do with social media. That's why I'm on Twitter. And there's a lot of kids getting fucking D1 offers, and I fucking love it. And Matt and David McHugh, God bless you guys for putting those kids on top, Yeah. And shout out to them. Shout out to them guys. They fucking awesome dudes. Awesome dudes. They were seniors when I was a freshman in high school. So yeah, and I like to bring that up too. Like that was also off topic too. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and end this podcast because we actually went longer than we were supposed to, which isn't a bad thing. which isn't a bad thing.
No,
Who doesn't?
no, man. That's what
Who
PMP
doesn't
is
wanna
all
talk?
about, man. If I could say it, PMP is all about you talking about issues in the football world, man. That's what it's all about. I do want to say, if I can, really quick. My name's Amo, by the way. I'm the producer. The random voice. But I do want to say I apologize for all the cutouts. My internet's just been recovering. Internet was down all day yesterday, so it's been on the fritz ever since. But yeah, we'll try to do better next stream. Yeah, hopefully it improves. Yeah, it's just sucky. Riddell knows. Yesterday we wanted to do the podcast yesterday and we couldn't do it because some construction worker went. Let's just say they cut a little too deep into the road.
Yeah, we'll talk about that tomorrow too. We'll talk about that too. I really want to hear this story from your mouth. Like, I want to hear it. Like,
oh man,
it's gonna be a funny story because we only got 9 teams to talk about tomorrow, which is gonna be Florida International, Jacksonville State, who's coming in from the Ohio Valley Conference, which is a FCS conference.
Hey, my alma mater, baby, Murray State. Let's go.
And then we'll talk about Liberty, a team that really has came in and shocked the system, no pun intended, for college football, beating Baylor one year. I didn't even know who the fuck they were when they beat Baylor. Louisiana Tech, Middle Tennessee State, New Mexico State, Sam Houston State, a team that I have a lot of respect for, finally getting their fucking respect going into a conference in the FBS level. And then they got UTEP, and the last team we're going to talk about tomorrow is Western Kentucky, the Hilltoppers.
Oh,
so,
okay. All right.
JMO's got a lot going on tomorrow.
I got some words for you, Hilltoppers.
Oh, fuck. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know. You'll have to see tomorrow.
Oh, shit. Sounds like a fucking... Ooh. Sounds like he's gonna be shooting fucking AKs out of a fucking pistol or something. Jesus.
Oh, man.
No, but in all honesty, I'm really excited to talk about the Conference USA because nobody really talks about this conference unless they're in the conference, you know? Like,
right.
And the PMP, we're going to talk about every fucking conference in the FBS level, you know, and I'll try to get someone in for the HBCUs to kind of go over that a little bit more. That's something Ed Reach been fired from Bethune-Cookman, whatever the fuck everybody wants to call them. Anyway, so tomorrow we got a lot to talk about. Half of it's going to be the Conference USA. The rest of it is just going to be a lot of fucking news regarding the PMP, what happened to the internet connection in the last several days, where JMO's at, because he is actually producing. He actually has the YouTube channel on there
in Nevada.
True, he is. So he is our
like...
actual producer. He is actually doing shit for us. The only thing I have to do is just show up. That's all I have to do. That puts a lot of stress off me, and I couldn't thank you more than enough, JMO. So,
hey man, you're the star of the show. I do this for you, dog. Hell yeah.
Yeah. and for those wondering, when are you going to start talking about NFL football again and start breaking down teams? Well, next month, after we get done with the conferences here in June, I do plan on finishing. I think I have the schedule, or you have the schedule too, JMO, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I do. Yep.
So, what did I say we were gonna?
So I've actually got it up right here, and I will also release this. I'll also make a schedule for you so you can release it on your socials. But if I can, so Big Ten we did today, Wednesday, June 7th. Conference USA, Friday, June 9th. MAC Conference we're doing Monday, June 12th. Mountain West, that should be an interesting one since I believe University of Navarino is in the Mountain West Conference. Correct me if I'm wrong there. I think they are.
Ooh.
I'm not sure.
I'll take
Yeah.
take a look at that.
Correct me if I'm wrong there. I haven't been in the game in a while. But yeah, we're going to be talking about them June 13th. Pac-12, Monday, June 19th. SEC, that's going to be a big one for me. You already know. June 20th.
Yeah.
And Sun Belt.
I'm gonna let you.
Oh, yeah?
So I'm gonna let you talk the Kentucky and yeah, I'm gonna let you spill your spiel about Kentucky, and then I'm gonna give a little bit about me, or get a little bit about myself, what I feel like Kentucky's gonna do, and give my ceiling, floor, and prediction on them.
I will say, this is the first time in a couple years I've been actually interested in Kentucky football, which is crazy to me. Usually it's just basketball.
Last time Kentucky's been actually interesting in the last several years since fucking the Tim Tebow days, and that's a very long fucking time.
Oh yeah, that was when I was a little one. But yeah, dude.
And then what's the last schedule?
So last couple of the conferences we'll talk about, and this will end the conference previews. I'm pretty sure, right? This is what you have ending the conference previews. Sun Belt is going to be Wednesday, June 28th, and then Independent Schools is going to be on Thursday, June 29th. So that's going to be a doubleheader. And then after that, we're going to be done with conference previews. And then once July rolls around, we'll see what we got from there. So,
yeah. And July, I want to go over like OTAs a little bit. Me and Caleb, we're going to be back together around that time. He'll have his first experience with this new look that we have. It'll be his first time meeting JMO too. At some point, I got to get y'all two together, say hi's or whatever. Kind of like the first time meeting two dogs, you know.
Break the ice a little bit.
But no, I really want to go over the NFC first, then the AFC second. So mainly because I'm a Cowboys fan, and me and Caleb are Cowboys fans. But James, is there anything you want to say before we go, bud?
Like I said, sorry about all the cutouts. Hopefully, plus I'll be moving soon, so hopefully my internet connection will improve once I move. I'll actually be moving around the July time frame, so expect a little gap in between then and there. But yeah, other than that, I honestly appreciate what you guys do for TJ, and TJ's great at talking about football. He's got some really good insights, man, and I enjoy every time I hear him get on the mic. And there's a reason this podcast has now 50 subscribers. So, yeah, man.
Actually, 51.
51, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah. Thank you to the fucking Pokes fans. Good God, last fucking video. They were fucking happy.
Oh,
They were very satisfied with what we put out.
Yeah.
We are the best football podcast with puppies on this motherfucking show. And we are the PMP. Good night. Mwah! And good night. Bang! Good night, everybody. Yeah. Woo! Jesus Christ.